Welcome everyone to the Believe in Yourself Heart and Mind podcast, where I have very special guests joining us for conversations on self-development. And today I bring this amazing guest who's been working in the sales industry, really being an entrepreneur among many entrepreneurs, helping and coaching so many individuals who are just looking to thrive. And as we all know, sometimes sales can be a bit tricky, but this individual here has really brought this incredible method of introducing compassion and being very human-like to another individual. So I'm excited to learn more about how he went from someone who was into law and thinking about the legal side of things to now becoming a full-time coach on sales. So please help me welcome Eric King. And Eric, if you could just jump in a little bit about who you are and also sales.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. I appreciate it, and congratulations on your successful podcast. So I'll start with when I was in college. I was a marketing major, and I wanted to get into something exciting like advertising. Okay, that was my goal. But I also had a goal of being a lawyer. So I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. So, but anyway, when I got out of school, I was hired by a company called Xerox, okay, the copier company. And when I got the offer, I was really excited. But then I found out that they wanted to hire me and put me in sales. So then I wasn't so happy. Okay. So I called my dad and I said I have good news and bad news. I said the good news is I was recruited by Xerox, which was a Fortune 100 company, like it was like Apple or Google. And he said, okay, well then what's the bad news? I said, well, they put me in sales. And I'm not a sales guy. Like I don't like sales, and I don't even like salespeople because I'm a nice guy, right? I'm not going to sell people. And he said, no, he said, it's actually a good thing they put you in sales. He said, because you will learn skills in sales that you can use for the rest of your life in any industry. Okay. So I got started in sales, and my first 60 days, I didn't sell anything. I couldn't sell a copier. I couldn't sell paper. I couldn't sell anything. And part of it was because I didn't have the right mindset, right? I thought it's, you just do say what everybody else says and you'll start selling. But I realized that, you have to have the right mindset to be successful in sales and in almost any industry. Okay, so I was introduced to a gentleman by the name of Brian. He was a top sales rep, and he taught me about sales. He taught me about having the right mindset. He taught me about believing in myself. He taught me about personal development, reading the right books, listening to the right audios, and then he also taught me how to sell in a compassionate way, where you're helping people get what they want. Okay, and that really resonated with me because I figured, okay, that I can do, and I call that being compassionate. So that's how I created my compassionate closer brand. Okay, and after about 18 months, I became one of the top reps in the whole region, top three. So I was, doing very well. I was winning the trips and making a lot of money. And then I decided that I still want to be a lawyer. So I quit. I said I'm leaving to become a lawyer. My boss he said, you must be crazy. You're making so much money and you're only in your 20s. I said, I know, but it's a goal, a dream of mine. So I ended up going to law school and then ended up practicing law in Atlanta, Georgia. But I actually did not enjoy the practice of law, even though I loved helping people. I didn't like the back and forth between attorneys and all of that. It's just not for me. So I started building businesses, and finally I decided that I was going to start coaching people to sell, because as entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs have a zone of genius. They have a gift that they want to share with the world. They have a great offer, but they don't know how to sell it. And I was fortunate because I started in sales. So it was easier for me to sell. And then I started teaching people how to sell. That's how I became a sales and leadership coach.
What a powerful story of going from thinking this is what I wanted to being thrown into something that you didn't even imagine being a part of,
Mhm,
and then
mhm,
becoming someone who, is a genius at sales and now coaching other people to do the same. So I'm very excited to learn about that. And also just I want to understand a little bit more about your thoughts on law. Like you said that it would help people, but you didn't think sales would do the same at first. Why law? Like what inspired you to go in that direction? And maybe to people who are kind of also figuring it out of, hey, I really thought this was the dream place for me to be. And then I realized, hey, it wasn't. Like how did you kind of navigate that? Maybe
Mhm.
the personality trait, environment. What was the reasoning behind when you started to how you knew it wasn't for you?
Well, I wanted to be an advocate. I wanted to help people. It really stems around helping people, right? I wanted to be an advocate to help people. I want to, I want to be a trial lawyer. I want to be in trial, right? I enjoyed that. That was fascinating to me. But then I found out that a lot of it has to do with billable hours, how much money can you make off of each client, and that was the focus in the law firm that I was with. And it rubbed me the wrong way, and there are a lot of ethical issues too that I did not like. I did not want to have to confront every day. So I said to myself, I want to do something that makes me happy every day, right? And where I'm serving people, I'm helping people, and I'm making money at the same time. So yeah, so that's how I decided to go back to the world of sales, because I really enjoy it, and I enjoy helping people to sell their offer. It's just a great feeling for me, especially being an entrepreneur myself. I know how what entrepreneurs go through.
Yeah, and I want to kind of explore that a little bit more because I think there are a lot of people, but I'm also speaking for myself who just want to help people, but then they feel like some people might take advantage of you if you're being too nice or you're overextending your hours and you're trying to work so hard to prove to other people that this is what you're capable of. Like how do you kind of say like I'm really good at this and I'm helping people and I'm really happy doing it all once. Like was it something that it took you time to kind of uncover, or what are some steps or strategies you could guide others to do something similar?
Well, first of all, you have to determine what your passion is, where your passion lies, because there'll be obstacles no matter what you do. Okay. And then you have to have boundaries too. So I say you can't let people push you around, right? You have to have boundaries. So, I have a coaching program, and there are certain things that I do for my clients, and I tell them that's what it is, right? And then there are certain times that they can contact me. They can't contact me in the middle of the night, right? So yeah, you have to create boundaries also, because, everybody's out for themselves, right? So because of that, if you are just trying to help people and you're not out to help yourself or your family, then you're behind the eight ball. Everybody is, people will take advantage of you, right? So you have to be careful about that. You definitely have to be careful. Yeah.
That's a great point. Creating boundaries, and I'm sure it was through a lot of mistakes that you've made
Mhm.
or trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
Like, hey, how do I
Yeah.
communicate with this person? How are they gonna take it? If I let's say to my father, like, hey, I can't talk to you right now or whatever,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And learning to build your voice, like what is your voice, right? Because I think oftentimes when you're young, you're gonna say and mimic someone else who appeals to you, and that is your model and your role model. Did you have any specific role model to help you go through these scenarios where you're working on building your voice and understanding who you are as a person, who you really as that best version of yourself?
Yes. Well, my first role model was my dad. He was a realtor. He owned a real estate agency. So I wanted to be like him. I wanted to have my name up there, right? His name was up there. So he was my first role model. And then when I got into sales, then the guy I was talking to about, Brian, he became my second role model. Um, Not just because he was great at sales, but because he was a good person. You know, I remember we went into a company, and this is a big company, and he presented for like 45 minutes. And after the presentation, he said to them, he said, what I'd recommend is you guys continue working with Canon. Canon was our number one competitor. He said, continue working with Canon. They're taking good care of you. And if you have any questions or if there's any way I can help you in the future, here's my card. And then we walked out. And I said to him, I said, Brian, like, you didn't try to sell him anything? Like, we have so many products. He taught me a lesson. He said, anytime you meet with a prospect, you want to leave them better off than you did when you met them. He said, if I sold them something, we could not give them a better deal than candidates given them. So I would actually be hurting them. I would be doing them a disfavor. So I wasn't gonna. I won't do that. He said, you create goodwill when you treat people the right way, because now I can actually get referrals from them, even though they never bought from me. And I said to myself, wow, so you can be compassionate and still be very good at sales, right? So yeah, so that was my second role model. And then when I got into business, then there was another guy that I saw in Dallas, Texas. His name is Paul J. Myers. He was a multi-millionaire, but he was very giving, right? So he would make the money and give it away. Right? And he taught me a lot about business, a lot about personal development, about personal leadership. Like, you have to lead yourself before you can lead others, right? Personal leadership. And that was in fact, he had such an indelible mark on me that I named my son after him. I named one of my sons after him. Yeah, because I learned so much from him. He really changed my life. Yeah. And he doesn't know me, by the way. He changed my life by me listening to his speech and then buying his books and then buying his audios. I bought everything he's ever done, and he doesn't know. He's passed away now, but that's what got me into creating courses and writing books, because I wanted to be able to help people that don't even know me, that I don't even know. Yeah.
Wow, I just got the chills with every single individuals who inspired you. I think that's such a powerful feeling when you know that this is who you envision yourself to be, but you know someone who's done it before you, and you're willing to learn and you're hungry to learn, um and do whatever it takes to, get to where they are, or um allow yourself to kind of feel the struggles of it, but then continue to say, hey, what can I do better? And I think you've done all of those things. And I'm very, I mean, I don't know how hard it was, I'm sure, but it's just cool to hear a story going back and saying, like, hey, despite all the different struggles, the not knowing where you might end up, there's always some people who will have things that you say, that resonates with me. I want to be more giving. I want to understand how to be a more compassionate entrepreneur, because that is the kind of person I am. And how can I create more of that kind of being, right? And I think you found people who modeled that so well. And I was curious about the idea of these individuals that you look up to. What kind of how would you say how would you describe them knowing their work inside and out? Like, what kind of preparation does it take to be a really good entrepreneur or salesperson or a real estate agent, things like
Mhm.
that? What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, first of all, you have to learn from people that have done it before. People go through this journey, going through trial and error for 15, 20, 30 years. You don't want to do that. You want to find the person or people that have done what you want to do and learn from them. If you have to buy their coaching, if you have to buy their course, whatever it is, learn from them. It cuts your learning curve down, right? Something that could take you 10 years, may take you a year, so you have to find the right people. Then once you have the information, you have to apply it, right? It's one thing to take a course or a coaching program, and it's another thing to actually apply it. And then once you apply it, you'll realize that it may not be as easy as you thought. There'll be obstacles, but then you either go around it, go over it, go under it, just find a way to overcome. okay, to overcome, because most people quit, quite frankly, in any business. People just quit. But you just have to stick to it. Paul J. Myers used to call it stick to itiveness. I don't think it's a word, but I know it. But it makes its point, right? You have to stick to it. Understand that adversity is normal, right? Adversity is normal. With every disappointment, with every crisis, there's an equal or greater benefit. With every crisis, there's an equal or greater benefit. It's up to you to find that benefit. And once you do, it will propel you to continue to strive. And don't be afraid to make mistakes, because mistakes are normal. You cannot be successful without making mistakes. You just cannot be. I mean, you will fail before you succeed. There's a book I read called Failing Forward, by John C. Maxwell, one of the best books I've ever read. And I've read a lot of books, hundreds of books. Failing Forward is one of my top three books, really, because it talks about how failure is a prerequisite to success. And if you're afraid to fail, you're afraid to succeed. And if you don't fail, you won't succeed. And it was just a powerful book. It makes you look at life differently. You come out of there thinking, okay, I need to just do more. I need to fail more so I can become more successful, right? Um, we're taught in school. We're taught in school to get A's, right? To learn it, to regurgitate it, write it down, and get an A, right? So if you get a C or a D, you're looked at as a failure, right? So because of that, when we get out of school, a lot of people were afraid to take chances. We're afraid to start businesses. We're afraid to do things because we're like, I don't want to fail. I don't want to be this D student. But what we don't understand is in entrepreneurship, it's the opposite, right? You have to fail to actually succeed. So you have to be that C student before you can become an A student, right? If we're using that, if that's how we're looking at it. So it's different. Entrepreneurship is very different from what we are taught in school, because school teaches us to get a job. They don't teach you to be an entrepreneur. So as a result, you have to reprogram your brain when you get out of school if you want to be an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm also hearing that you need to take full responsibility for your life and actions, because um failure or feeling failure it never feels great at all.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
it's
mhm,
learning to own that emotion, say like, hey, this happened, but what am I going to do about it? And
mhm.
how could I improve upon it? What can I learn from it? Asking those productive or constructive questions, I think, is also fruitful for the mind, as your brain is like a problem solving machine, you could say, or it will find solutions for you if you're allowing it, versus like if you're constantly stressing about it and saying and worrying too much, and thinking about all the bad things, but then you're not allowing the creative side of yourself to kind of come out as well. So I'm hearing that. And I was wondering, out of curiosity, did you have like any specific fail that you thought was a failure, but through perception and later on you realized it was actually something that helped you learn something more, either about yourself, your business, or being an entrepreneur?
Um, well, okay, so I started a meetup group for entrepreneurs. Okay, you're familiar with it. I started a meetup group, and I wanted to create a group where people come together and they're able to talk about their businesses. Right? I give everybody 3 minutes, and I thought it was a pretty good idea. Right? So I put this together, and I had my first meeting, and I probably invited maybe 40 people or something, and 8 people showed up. Right. Now, most people will think that's not a lot, but I was actually happy. I'm like, wow, 8 people, this is awesome. Right. So we're there. It was at the Hilton in Rockville, Maryland. And so after the meeting, people came up to me and said, wow, I love this. Like, how often do you do it? So at that point, I decided, you know what, I'll do it every week. So I said, I'm just starting, but I'll do it every week if you guys will show up. So they're like, yeah, we'll be here next week, right? So I said, great. So the next week, I I invited those 8, and then I invited some more people. So I figured, okay, I have at least 8, and then some more. So it was supposed to start at 7, and this time I got a little bit. The room was a little bigger. I had writing pads for everybody, pens for everybody. Like it was like I was ready, right? And it was 7 o'clock. There was nobody there, so I thought, okay, maybe there's traffic. Maybe people are on traffic, right? 7:15, nobody there. So I'm looking to wait a minute. Did I give them the wrong information? I'm checking everything. I'm like, no, everybody has the information. 7:30, 7:45, nobody. So you would think that I would be dejected. Like I would say, oh, this is not going to work. But because of the things I've learned over the years, I've learned things that you have to take full responsibility. I said to myself, okay, I needed to promote to other people. I shouldn't have relied on the people that said they'll be there, right? So I didn't blame them at all. I blamed myself. I could have done better, right? And then the lady up front, she said to me, she saw me, and she said, I understand if you don't want to book the room for the next few weeks, so you can maybe get people together so you don't have to pay for a room and nobody shows up. And I said, no. I said, what I actually want to do is I want to book the room for the next 4 Thursdays. So go ahead and put it on my card. And she said, are you sure? I said, yes. The reason I did that is I wanted to put pressure on myself to fill the room, to get people to come. Because, in life, a lot of times if your back is into the wall, you don't actually do anything. Like, in school, you have an exam, and it's a month away, and you don't study for 29 days. The day before the exam, you study, but you put it all and you still could pass, right? But because your back is against the wall, you still win. So I decided to do that. And the next meeting, we had 12, then we had 15. Then it started to grow. People in the other parts of Maryland said, can I start one over there? So I started one in Bowie, Maryland. Okay. And then Prince George's, Maryland. Then Woodbridge, Virginia. Then it started to grow. Now we're in New York, Texas, Canada. We have people from Europe coming in, right? So if I quit that first day, we wouldn't be we are thousands of people now. You see what I mean? So you have to realize. I think part of it is the personal development that I was talking about. That helps you. That helps you to get through the tough times, to be able to succeed, and just know that adversity is normal, right? Just embrace it, right? Yeah.
I had so many thoughts going through my head when you were talking about that, because you're resonating with, college students who like are not studying and then the last minute they study, which
Mhm.
makes so much sense, right? A lot of us kind of put it to the back burner and be like, oh, I'll get there, but then we
Mhm.
never really do until we feel the pressure, as you were saying. So I appreciate that, and I think, to your point of personal development, I am I'm sure there are people who are right now maybe just saying like, I've already put a lot of pressure on myself, and I've gone through those stages of constantly trying to do, but now I'm trying to kind of, remove things a little bit and relax and learn to understand what I actually want to do. And then there are people where, after they figure all that out and gone through, um, saying like, hey, this is actually what I want to pursue now, and I'm doing more of that, and I'm clear on who I am and the kind of person I want to be, then they have this clearer version and understanding of like the direction. So I think that's where you knew that I just have to try again. There's no loss in me trying again. And if I end up like paying this amount of money, I still would have gained something because I learned something in the process. And that is more of the winning streak or strategy than just saying, I'm going to give up. Like, why should I? Because that would have, you already went through that, I'm sure. You went through it so many
Mhm.
times that you realize like it's not worth it anymore. And then I love the fact that you said, oh, 8 people, and then realizing no one showed up, not relying on others, but relying on yourself more and thinking about what else you can do to regain control. And then from there, what I also appreciated was the fact that uh, you were prepared. You were prepared going in. And I think you learned something from that first meeting too, that it was a success. People do want this. here's how I'm going to prepare it for the next meeting. And despite people not showing up, there was still, I think, a level of wins, small wins there, right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
wouldn't have known if you didn't try that first time. So I thought that was so powerful, that if we start looking more along the lens of, hey, after I attempted this, what did I actually do as a result? Now, this is what happened. How can I go ahead and do a different way? And I think I'm speaking for myself a lot in here as well, from my personal journey experience working on the podcast. It is stressful. It's like, why am I doing this? You're constantly questioning yourself and all these different things. And I don't think I'm like there where you are, but I'm getting there where I'm just like, okay, I got this. Like, I'm learning to take it slowly, because sometimes you don't have to kind of force yourself and push yourself into every hole and like make things happen. I think it depends on where you are, and learn to respect that journey, and then allowing yourself to grow in the process. Do you have
Yeah,
any
yeah,
other
yeah,
thoughts on
yeah,
that?
yeah. Our mind plays tricks on us. Okay, so you're doing these podcast episodes, and maybe you have a challenge or somebody doesn't show up or something, and then your mind tells you that, well, maybe this is not working. Maybe it's not for me. Maybe I should do something else. And and the fact is that it is for you. The fact is that things will get better as you go, right? Do you know every day I have at least 5 to 10 people join my meetup group. And I don't do any marketing for it. I haven't done marketing for it in a couple of years. It took me, I had to make calls to over 50 people each meeting for the first 3 months just to have people come into the room. Now people join every day, and I don't have to. I don't do any marketing anymore, right? But I would never be here if I didn't make all those calls the first 3 months. You see what I'm saying? So the first 3 months, when I'm thinking I'm not winning, I am winning, right? You never lose. You either win or you learn. I was learning. I was learning. Now, every week, people are calling me saying, yeah, Eric, I got 3 leads from your call. One lady said, I've been making my quota, my insurance quota for the last year and a half because I'm in your group. Like, I'm getting all these testimonials. And that don't know how I started will think, oh, he just put it together and then everything worked out. They won't know that there were all those times my brain was telling me, maybe I should stop. Maybe I should stop paying money for this room, right? But and even though I wasn't charging anybody, some of those people that came in ended up buying my book, ended up joining my coaching, ended up referring people to me, right? So it became profitable for me anyway, right? Just because I put in the work and I was helping people.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I want to touch a little bit more on your meetup groups, because I've been in it, and I I'm always so impressed, from the outside view of being new to someone who would just join regularly, and then I was like, wow, Eric is so consistent. It's so hard to stay consistent, but Eric is so consistent, and he just comes in ready with a positive attitude. He knows what he's gonna say. He knows what he wants to create as a space for other people. And it's a very positive space, even remotely, where sometimes it can be hard to create those rules and help people follow them and not overstep them, right? And I'm sure, again, you made a lot of different mistakes or,
Mm.
attempts, and people weren't following things, but then you learn to find confidence in your own voice, and you learn to establish your own authority, because it is your meetup group, right?
Yes.
And same thing here, where I have had people tell me, like, this is your podcast. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I guess I'm going to work on it and figure out how I want to continue this conversation. So I think, wherever people are, like, I'm really talking to people right now that you got to start thinking about owning your voice and what you want to do in the process, because no one is going to do it better than you, meaning that um there's only one of you. and how you want to mold and shape your life story from one page to the next is always going to be up to you. And I think Eric shows shares a really powerful example of his meetup group. Um, and actually, I wanted to kind of also touch base on, where you are today, since all the different experiences you've gone through, and the journey. What is your dream and hope of working as an entrepreneur? I know you said your passion started off first, like as a glimpse of, I just want to help people.
Mhm.
How has that kind of unraveled and evolved?
Well, I'm a sales and leadership coach, so I help entrepreneurs triple their income by tripling their sales, right? And by doing this without being pushy or salesy, because a lot of times people are afraid of not being pushy or salesy. And it's really changed my life because I've been able to create a coaching program where I'm helping people, I'm making money at the same time. And then I'm getting a lot of testimonials. So people are coming out of it saying, I loved it. I learned so much, right? And yeah, um, so I created a brand called Compassionate Closer, the compassionatecloser.com, where people can get, my free ebook, or you can watch my masterclass, right? Just to give you some free information on the sales process and how to navigate it, and especially for people that haven't sold before, or even people that have sold before that want to hone their skills, right? Or maybe they feel that they're hitting a brick wall. Because I have a lot of experience, I'm able to provide that. So, yeah, my goal is to continue to expand, to grow the coaching program, maybe turn it into a retreat, okay, where people can come together. But it's going very well, and I'm very pleased with my results so far. But I know that there's a lot of room for improvement. You can always get better, right? And I want to touch more people. I want more people to see it, to know about it, and to be able to take advantage of my coaching program.
Where does this desire to touch more people come from? Like, is it just a personality thing? Or
Ah,
yeah.
well, I don't know. Maybe, well, growing up, my dad he was very generous, and he liked to help people. Like I said, he had a real estate company, and he used to train younger realtors, right? So he would go out with them and teach them. And when he came home, he'd be so happy that he was able to help this young new guy, right? This young guy, or the young lady. So I said to myself, when I grow up, I want to help people too. I want to be able to come home and say, I helped somebody, right? So I had a client. I had a client who she never made more than $50,000 before in her life, and she was in an industry where people make six figures and multiple six figures. So she came to me. She said she doesn't know what it is, but she can't make more than 50,000. So I said, that's so strange. So we peeled back the onion. In other words, found out really what's happening, and come to find out, nobody in her family has ever made more than 50,000. Her parents never made it. Her uncles, her aunts, other people that she looks up to never made it before. So she was limiting herself based on her surroundings. Her friends don't make as much as she does. Okay. And, in fact, when it gets to like October, November, if she was at 40,000, she'll start sabotaging herself, like not booking appointments, right? But when I got her to make a shift in that mindset, she made over six figures in 6 months, right? Because of the shift that you are worth it. You are worth more than six figures. You don't have to limit yourself because of other people, right? And that's how I was able to help her, and I love that I was able to help her. Had another client, had another client who, when I met with her, she said her biggest problem is that it's hard for her to sell her offer because her offer requires people to sign a contract for 3 months. And she said people don't like signing contracts. I said, what did you say? He says people don't like signing contracts. I said, that's why you're not signing contracts, because you have convinced yourself that people don't like signing contracts. I signed a contract to build my house. I was happy to sign it because I wanted to build a house. I signed a contract to buy my car. I was happy to sign it. So people love signing contracts if there's a benefit, if there's value. So I told her, I said, I want you to do this. I said, how much is your contract? She said, it's $3,000 for 3 months of the service. I said, I want you to create a contract for 12 months so you can help them for 12 months. She said, 12 months? You sure someone's going to sign that? I said, I'm sure people will sign it. It depends on the value they get and the confidence that you use to sell it. So I told her to do it. I taught her because she was in my coaching program. So I taught her all the steps of selling, including how to close the deal. And she said, she called me 2 weeks later. She said, I had a 45-minute meeting with this gentleman. He asked me, how long is the contract? I said, 12 months. She said, I actually held my breath when I was saying it. She said, 12 months. And the guy said, okay, where do I sign? And she said, I made $12,000 in one day, and I never thought that was ever possible. Right. So now, not only have I helped her to get that contract, but I've changed her life in a way because now she can do it over and over. She can do it over and over, right? Because she's now out of that mental block that told her that people don't sign contracts, right? So yeah, that's part of what I do and how I help people, starting with the mindset and then getting into the sales strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a great, or actually great examples of where limiting beliefs come from, your maybe upbringing and how you view yourself or what you think is possible. And once you kind of allow yourself to take time to unravel that, and to your point, sometimes they can take longer if you're doing by yourself or maybe with some people to help, or with someone like yourself who's more experienced and understand the process of like trying to think outside the box of like what you're actually trying to achieve, and then ensuring that those limiting beliefs don't become part of your identity, and
Mhm.
allowing yourself to kind of remove that. Because I think a lot of times, and we identify that who we are by what we look at in the
Mhm.
mirror. That's who we are. And then
Mhm.
we don't realize that everything is just for a short time,
Mhm.
but we can always re-identify or re-envision who we want to be at each stage of our life.
Yeah.
Like being a mom, right? Like to someone who's a grandparent, stuff like that. It's like now you have to kind of reinvent yourself again and again.
Mhm.
There's no end to it in a way, which is why I kind of asked you about like where you are in the stage, because I'm sure you're constantly reinventing some part of yourself. And I'm curious to know like that area, because um how do you know when something is just enough or when the next stage or step is?
Well, I keep pushing myself. So it's really never enough, right? I keep pushing myself to get better. I can get better, I can do better, right? Um, there was a time when I wasn't doing online events, right? And then I started doing them. Then I got good at online events, right? The next month I'm gonna do my first studio event where I'm gonna be in a big studio in North Carolina, and with the lights and it's like the zooms that are life size, the big, all those, that I see people like Anthony Robbins doing, and now it's my turn. I'm gonna start doing that, right? So again, I just want to get better and better, and I'll be able to reach more people. I'll be able to reach more people, have a bigger impact. You know what I mean? So, I just love it. I just love it. I love serving people, and that will allow me to serve more people. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if you had any specific strategies or um, share for those who are looking to be an entrepreneur, when it comes to either learning to drive further or learning to take a step back, because I think there must be some sort of balance that one must be able to be aware of. And to your point of mindfulness, um, you got to be aware of who you are and when to take the next step and not overdo. And then, like you're saying, creating that boundary. So, do you have any specific thoughts or ideas on that?
So you mean on creating goals, or is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
like being an entrepreneur of whether in sales or in just starting out to becoming someone who is looking to just take their skills or passions and grow it.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I think it's important to always keep learning, continuous education. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of tips right now. So, as an entrepreneur, anytime you meet people, you want to be able to number one, you want to build rapport. So when you meet somebody, you want to build rapport. Find out about them. Find out, don't talk about the business at first. Okay. If I'm in Virginia and you're in California, talk about California. Talk about, the day, the time you went there or how you wish you can, live there or whatever it is, right? Talk about something that the person you are talking to can relate to. Okay, we call it building rapport because people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. People will start to like you when you're building rapport. A sale is much easier that way than if it's just transactional and it's just like, hi, my name is Eric. This is my product. You know what I mean? That's robotic, right? You want to be you want to. It's easier to for someone to buy from you if they like you, right? All right. So once you built rapport, then you want to control the call. You want to take control of the call. Like you said before, people can just take control over your call and nothing you can do about it, right? I call it walking all over you. You don't want anybody to, because it's your call, right? So you have to be able to meet with someone and say, okay, so we're going to meet today for about 30 minutes. And during that time, I'm going to, first of all, ask you some questions about your business. All right. And then after I ask you the questions, then if you qualify for my offer, then I'll tell you more about my offer. Okay. Then after that, I'll answer your questions. And then you can decide if you want to purchase from me or not. Fair enough? And then you're going to do exactly what you're doing right now. You're going to say, okay, fair enough. So what I did is I took control over the call. I made sure that I told you how long we have so that my prospect doesn't ramble for an hour and a half, right? And I told them that, I'm going to ask them some questions. So I'm getting permission to ask them questions because I can't help them if I don't ask them questions, right? So I'm getting permission to ask them questions, right? And then I said that, okay, I'll let you ask questions from me, right? And right. So I'm showing that, I'm open to you asking questions from me. And then I said, if you qualify for my service, then I'll share it, which I'm telling you that it's not for everybody. I'm not the regular salesperson that just wants to sell everybody. Okay. This is different here. Okay. And then at the very end, I said, well, then you can make a decision whether you want to buy or not. I give them an out. You notice how I said that? That in other words, you don't have to buy today,
Hmm.
right? You'll decide whether you want to buy or not. When you give people an out, they're more likely to buy than when you try to put them in a corner. If I said to you, I have a great service, you need it. I mean, if you don't get it today, you won't get it at this price. That's pressure. People don't like pressure. They're like, okay, you know what? I have to think about it. I'm not ready, right? But if I tell you what it is and I say, well, this is it, and you can make a decision whether you want it or not. Now you're more calm. You're like, oh, I don't have to get it. Now you're more likely to actually get it because you're going to listen to everything I say and realize how much you need it. You see what I'm saying? So that's what we call controlling the call. So that's important. As a person that has an offer, you want to be able to do that with every call, and there's nothing wrong with controlling the call because you're helping your prospect actually. But if your prospect rambles for an hour and then after the hour says I gotta go, you didn't serve them. So it's through your leadership that you can serve, right? So that's one of the things I teach is controlling the call.
That's so powerful. And as you're talking, I feel like a lot of those strategies or moves are really interpersonal skills that
Mhm,
one can apply in so many different levels, whether you're looking to be an entrepreneur or you're just trying to be someone who's working as an employee, in some company, right?
mhm,
You can be an entrepreneur, but essentially you're all you're doing is you're building all these different skills of working with a person one-on-one,
mhm,
establishing your authority, knowing your worth, articulating your ideas, and essentially building like a clear story or frame of interaction of like, this is what we're trying to achieve here, and here's the
mhm,
goal and here's the plan, and ensuring there's clarity between both individuals, where you're saying something, the other person is also able to be heard and feel heard, right? And there's so many good things that you just mentioned and brought up, and even in user experience design, like what we do is like think about giving people an option to get out
Hmm.
because no one likes to feel like they're hanging on the call or like doing going through a chatbot experience or something like that and feeling like, what, this is the only thing you're trying to drive me home to, and I
Hmm.
really don't like this, I'm not going to use it again. So it's similar to that. It's like you get the human basic needs and like how to interact with another individual, and I find that so powerful. You're able to do it so seamlessly, but I'm sure it took a lot of time and work.
Hmm.
But thank you for
Yes,
sharing that.
no problem.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you a final closing question of who or what inspires you?
Well, my kids, my kids. I have three sons, and I'm inspired to be a great role model for them, to show them the world, to give them all the opportunities that they can possibly have, so they can be productive human beings and productive members of society. Yeah, yeah, and they're good kids too. So if they weren't good, if they were not good kids, I wouldn't be so inspired. But I actually have three wonderful children. Yeah,
I'm
they
sure.
inspire me.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
sure if they heard you, they would also know how amazing you are. And I'm sure you're doing the same thing and inspiring them. So first of all, thank you so much for being on the podcast and inspiring so many lives. And just doing the great work that you're doing and helping us realize that sales is not so negative. Like it's actually
Mhm.
a part of life, and
Mhm.
there's skills to be learned, and owning your own voice to working with others and building something that you're proud of, right?
Mhm.
So thank you for all that you're doing. And I was wondering if you have any way for people to connect with you or anything that you want to share or any final thoughts and ideas.
Well, yeah. So if you, first of all, if you want any more information on, closing skills, on how to overcome objections, on how to just be a masterful salesperson, go to compassionatecloser.com. They can grab my free ebook and they can watch, my videos. Also, you can follow me on all social media. I'm on everything but Twitter. I'm on everything but Twitter. Eric F. King, I have a YouTube channel. You can watch me there. Also, I'm very active on LinkedIn. But yeah, so there are different ways, and you can always message me from any of those platforms.
Wonderful. So thank you everyone for joining and listening to Eric and myself. We're excited for where you are, and I wish the best for you. So until next time, and have a great day.